Hey everyone, it's Donna from redcarpetlearning.com. I'm back with another edition of Q&A with Donna. This is where every week I'm going to answer one question, one of your questions related to customer service and employee experience. And this week's question is a great one. It is, how do we make time for an effective employee orientation? Oh, that is such a great question. Thank you to the person who sent that in. And I'm going to start by saying I've already done videos on what an effective orientation could look like, and I'm going to link to those below. So we're not going to spend time on that today. I am going to say, however, that this question, it presumes that you don't have time, right? And I do understand people are burnt out, they're stressed out, there's so many people, so many of us are working with so much to do and not enough time to do it in. And that could be a video in and of itself. However, sometimes we are trading time. So in other words, you can take the time, whatever that turns out to be for you, to create and stick to and deliver an effective employee orientation and spend your time here. Or you could spend your time over here, which is dealing with the fallout of the fact that you don't have an effective employee orientation. So in other words, you might be seeing a lot of turnover in the first 30, 60, 90 days, or the first week, or even in some cases, the first day, right? If that's happening, that's taking a lot of your time. And that could be prevented by spending more time over here. Or if you're not dealing with all of that turnover, I guarantee if you don't have an effective employee orientation, you are dealing with the fact that people are not ready. They don't feel connected to the organization, connected to the customers. They're not prepared to do their best work. And so there's a lot of time that you're spending over here putting out fires because you didn't set people up correctly. It's imperative that you do have an effective employee orientation. If you want to spend less time over here, you've got to spend more time over here. It's also about rolling out the red carpet for your team members, so that they know how you want them to roll out the red carpet for your customers. You can't, that's the whole theory behind my book, Employees First, is you can't have excellent customer service unless you're doing the same for your employees. And if you don't have an effective orientation, then you're not. You know, it is actually unkind to just take people in and throw them out on the floor. It's not a kind way to treat another human being even. So having said that, I do have some practical, I want to say ideas, but they're really more questions for your consideration that might help you figure out how to make time for your more effective orientation. Here are some of those questions. First, keep in mind that your employee orientation, this is an event, a one-time event that is part of your overall onboarding process. It should be used to make people fall in love with your organization, to introduce them to your culture, not just by reading off your mission, vision, and values from a slide deck, but to really engage them in your culture in a way that they are so excited that you chose them and they chose you. And then secondly, keeping in mind that you want to use it to connect people so that they are making connections, not just with the other new team members, but their new coworkers, and also with leadership. Because the sooner you get people connected, the longer they're going to stay. So in order to make time for that, here are some things to ask yourselves. You want to ask yourself, what could be done in advance? Look at all the compliance activities that you have. What can be done in advance? What can be done online? Are there self-service options, things that could be done before the actual orientation day that don't actually have to be done at that particular time? What could be cut out? Are there things that you're doing now that really aren't relevant anymore? Or, maybe someone's emotionally attached to it, but it's not really having an impact. Just cut some things out so that you do have time. What could be combined? So is there something that you teach that takes 20 minutes, another thing that takes 10 minutes, but they're related and you could put them together and cut the fat and make it a 15-minute segment? So thinking about that as well. And then lastly, how can you take what you're already doing and kick it up a notch? So sometimes it's not about adding more. Sometimes it's about taking away. And then sometimes it's about, let's just do what we're doing, but how do we gamify policies and procedures, right? Can we find a better video, a shorter video, a more impactful video to teach this specific compliance thing? Can we take them out of the room, and move them around a little? Can we make it more interactive? Can we make it more fun using props and games and decorations? Who are the best speakers? If you, honest to goodness, if you just take that tip and make sure that it's the absolute best people who speak in an engaging manner to deliver this orientation, it's going to be that much more impactful. And then how do you take the text that you're giving them and make it more visual? So again, sometimes it's just taking what you do. How do we do that? How do we take that and just kick it up a few notches? Finally, I want to go back to where we started, because I don't think in most cases that 2 hours is enough time for an effective employee orientation. It can be anytime you like, 2 hours, a day, 2 days, 2 weeks, right? You just want to make sure. The real question is, what is it going to take to really set our team members up for success so their first day on the job, they can be successful from the get-go? That's the question. That's what's going to determine how long it's going to take to do that. Now, I'm going to end by sharing that last year in 2023, depending on when you're watching this, last year, we worked with at Red Carpet 2 organizations and redesigned their entire employee orientation. In one case, it was 2.5 days. We took it from nothing to 2.5 days. In another case, we took it from varying, depending on location, varying things to a 3-day orientation. All of the leaders in these organizations were very nervous about taking that time away. They needed the people on the floor. There was a lot of back and forth before they agreed to give it a try. And give it a try they did, and guess what? In both cases, employee retention went up significantly. And so I want to go back and challenge the idea that you don't have time. It's that you're not making the time, and so you're spending time over here. Not only did employee retention go up significantly because of this, but when the leaders who were against it or nervous about it in the beginning saw the impact it was having, many of them stepped up their game, and now their on-the-job skills training is that much better because they really saw the impact and the importance of effective orientation and onboarding for your new hires. So that's my 2 cents. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you next week with another edition of Q&A with Donna.